Pastor Jamal Bryant, a name long linked with faith and leadership, has just made a confession that has left both his congregation and the wider religious community completely stunned. What he has admitted about his personal life is shocking, unexpected, and to many, nearly unbelievable. Stay tuned, because the truth behind this revelation is far more intense than anyone could have imagined. And the details you're about to hear will truly leave you speechless. For years, Pastor Jamal Bryant has been regarded as a strong pillar of leadership and faith, inspiring countless people through his sermons, outreach programs, and influential public presence. Yet, behind the pulpit, a private battle has been quietly unfolding, one that has only now come to light. His confession has left many within his church in complete shock. In this video, we'll carefully unpack every part of Pastor Bryant's revelation about his personal life. You'll learn about what led up to this disclosure, how his congregation and peers reacted, and what impact it might have on his public image and ministry moving forward. What happened next will surprise you, and this is where things get truly fascinating. These revelations go much deeper than mere gossip. By the end of this video, you'll see why this confession is so significant, what it exposes about the man behind the ministry, and why it has triggered widespread conversations across social media and major news platforms. Pastor Jamal Bryant is widely recognized for his magnetic sermons, his role in community leadership, and his strong influence in the world of faith. However, behind that public image lies a string of personal challenges that few people outside his closest circle ever knew about. For years, Bryant maintained the appearance of unshakable confidence and spiritual authority. Yet privately, he was struggling with burdens that weighed heavily on his personal life. According to those close to him, the immense pressure of leading a high-profile ministry while dealing with complex personal issues created serious emotional strain. Friends and advisors reportedly began noticing small but telling changes in his behavior, moments of quietness, deep reflection, visible stress, and long periods of introspection. All of this suggested that he was dealing with deeper emotional struggles. These hidden battles were carefully masked from public view, reinforcing the truth that even the most respected leaders are not immune to personal challenges. What makes this story even more compelling is its timing. Sources suggest that a combination of personal and public events built up to a point where Bryant felt compelled to come forward. It wasn't an easy choice. He fully understood how it could affect his congregation, his reputation, and how his ministry was perceived. Those close to him say he eventually reached a point where remaining silent was no longer possible. Honesty became his only option. The emotional weight behind this moment cannot be overstated. Pastor Bryant's confession isn't merely about exposing a secret. It's about showing the human complexity behind a man many see as larger than life. It reveals the immense pressure of leadership, the expectations tied to spiritual guidance, and the deep vulnerability that often remains hidden. By choosing to speak out, he not only shared his truth but also showed that even leaders of faith are human too. Bryant offered a rare look into the struggle of balancing personal life with public duty, a delicate act that millions of people might relate to on some level. But here's where things become even more intriguing. Insiders claim that this confession was just the beginning. There are growing indications that additional details could soon surface through upcoming interviews, social media posts, or public statements. These unrevealed aspects add an air of suspense, leaving followers and onlookers eager to discover what more might come out regarding his private life and the chain of events that led to this surprising revelation. For years, Pastor Jamal Bryant worked hard to maintain equilibrium between his public ministry and his personal affairs, while members of his congregation saw a man filled with passion, conviction, and unwavering leadership. Behind the scenes, Bryant was dealing with challenges that required immense emotional control and careful handling. Sources reveal that a combination of personal circumstances and professional pressures eventually reached a breaking point, forcing him to make a confession that would shock his entire community. According to insiders, this turning point began with a series of private reflections and deep conversations with his closest advisors. Bryant reportedly spent several weeks weighing the consequences of opening up about his private struggles. He was well aware that any revelation could send shockwaves throughout his congregation and even the wider public. Still, he also knew that keeping quiet could jeopardize his authenticity and personal peace. During this time, he is said to have gone through profound moments of self-reflection, thinking about his role as both a spiritual leader and a public figure. Friends and confidants observed that he had become noticeably more introspective, seeking advice on how to handle his private difficulties without distancing those who admired him. This inner battle was only intensified by rising expectations, constant media scrutiny, and the emotional demands of leading such a large congregation. Insiders further mention that one pivotal private conversation with a trusted family member or colleague played a decisive role in his choice to speak out. That individual reportedly encouraged Bryant to be open not as a display of weakness, but as an act of bravery and integrity. It was suggested that his honesty could inspire others to confront their own struggles with courage rather than secrecy. His confession, however, didn't happen immediately. Sources say Bryant took time to plan everything carefully, from crafting his message to determining the right moment to share it, ensuring it would be received with sincerity and depth. He was reportedly determined to avoid any sensationalism, instead emphasizing truth, reflection, and accountability. This deliberate approach underscores how complex his decision truly was. It wasn't merely about exposing a personal secret. It was about safeguarding trust, maintaining credibility, and continuing to offer genuine spiritual guidance. And here's the part that caught many completely off guard. Insiders revealed that there were times when the weight of silence became unbearable. The emotional pressure of hiding his personal struggles eventually began to affect not just his private life, but also the very foundation of his ministry. The confession became unavoidable not as a scandalous revelation, but as an essential step toward personal and spiritual clarity. When Pastor Jamal Bryant finally stood before his congregation to share the truth about his private life, the atmosphere was filled with a mix of shock, disbelief, and compassion. Those who were present described the moment as almost surreal, as the pastor unveiled aspects of his personal life that had long been carefully shielded from public view. His words carried deep sincerity, humility, and a rare vulnerability that few had ever seen from someone of his stature. According to eyewitnesses, it was a moment unlike any other in his ministry. Bryant began by addressing the immense weight of his duties as a spiritual leader and the expectations that constantly surrounded him. He acknowledged that, at times, the effort to maintain a flawless public image had conflicted with the personal struggles he faced behind the scenes. For years, he had quietly wrestled with deeply private challenges, striving to uphold his commitment to faith, ministry, and his congregation, all while carrying burdens that would have tested anyone's strength. Perhaps the most striking part of his confession was his readiness to take full responsibility. Bryant didn't shy away from admitting his mistakes or acknowledging moments when he had fallen short of both his personal and spiritual ideals. This kind of transparency was something his congregation had never seen before, and it immediately struck a chord with many who praised his courage and honesty. For numerous members, watching their leader openly express vulnerability was both shocking and profoundly moving. Reactions came swiftly and were deeply emotional, from tears of empathy and support to expressions of surprise and concern. Many took to social media to share their thoughts, admiring his openness and pointing out that his confession reminded them of the humanity that exists even in those often viewed as larger-than-life figures. The moment sparked widespread discussions about the meaning of leadership, the challenges of faith, and the truth that even spiritual authorities face personal trials. Media coverage followed quickly, with outlets focusing on both the content of his confession and the emotional wave generated. Journalists and commentators analyzed how this revelation might affect his ministry, the public's view of his leadership, and the broader message it sent about authenticity and accountability. Some praised Bryant's decision as a bold and necessary move, one that helped dismantle the stigma surrounding vulnerability among leaders. Others, however, debated the timing and its possible consequences for his congregation. Insiders also disclosed that, in the hours following his public statement, private follow-up meetings took place between Bryant, church elders, and trusted advisors. These discussions focused on how best to address the congregation's concerns, provide support to the pastor, and strengthen mutual trust moving forward. This behind the scenes unity became instrumental in ensuring that the confession served to reinforce rather than weaken his leadership. But here's the part that left many completely stunned nonetheless. Bryant continues to walk the delicate line between personal humanity and public responsibility, acknowledging that true leadership carries both scrutiny and grace. In interviews following his confession, Bryant made it clear that his intent was never damage control, but rather a journey toward healing, both personal and collective. He spoke candidly about the dangers of suppressing truth for the sake of appearances, stressing that countless leaders bear silent burdens out of fear of being judged. His message struck a profound chord. No one, not even those chosen to lead others, is immune to failure or struggle. It became a call to accept imperfection without shame and to pursue personal growth without denial. The confession also marked a subtle, but powerful transformation in his ministry's direction. His sermons began to take on a more introspective tone, focusing heavily on forgiveness, redemption, and emotional honesty. Members of his congregation noted that his messages now carried a deeper resonance. Each word seemed to reflect the weight of lived experience. The once polished image of a distant preacher had evolved into that of a relatable man of faith, walking through his own valleys with the same conviction he had always preached. Even social media began to reflect a shift in tone. Where early critics once questioned his motives, many began to reevaluate their opinions as they witnessed his continued transparency and humility. Instead of withdrawing from public attention, Bryant chose to lean fully into his message, transforming what could have been a moment of downfall into a powerful testimony of endurance and resilience. His handling of the aftermath became a striking example of leadership through humility. What's even more remarkable is how his story sparked widespread conversation across faith communities far beyond his own. Pastors, church members, and spiritual thinkers began engaging in open discussions about the emotional burden that comes with leadership. Podcasts and online platforms explore new ways faith institutions might evolve to better care for those who lead them. Bryant's moment of openness unexpectedly became a catalyst for cultural reflection, a reminder that genuine strength isn't found in denial, but in the courage to confront truth. And on a personal level, those close to him say that this confession seems to have brought him a sense of calm and peace. Insiders describe him now as more grounded, more present, and more deliberate in both his words and actions. Friends and colleagues have observed a renewed sense of clarity in his purpose, as if the heavy burden he had carried in silence for so long has finally been lifted. By confronting his truth directly, Bryant regained not only his integrity but also a profound sense of freedom. Road ahead remains uncertain. Whether this chapter ultimately strengthens or complicates his legacy will depend on how the journey continues. But one thing is undeniable: Pastor Jamal Bryant's confession has forever changed how people see him, and perhaps how they perceive leaders as a whole. It has forced the public to face uncomfortable truths about humanity, faith, and the expectations we so often place on those who guide us.